Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to the video. Welcome to my garage. This video is not going to be part of any of my series. This video is going to be basically just an update video. I really don't do those very often, but now that I'm finishing up the suspension, the videos are changing a little bit. And yeah, as you can see in the background there, the wife picked up some fresh squeak toys for the dogs. So they just got them today, so there's going to be some squeaking in the background. That's why I've got the camera shooting back there. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm just going to run you around, show you there's essentially 4 projects I'm working on right now on Wratchet. And I've been working on them for a couple of weeks. Basically ever since on the last video and it became a roller, I started working on these things. But the projects are different now because they're more focused on the engine. And I am going to create a series for the engine. Hey, Kev, that's pretty loud. I am going to create a series for the engine, but I'm not ready to kick that off yet. But as I'm trying to get some projects going on that, it is the alpha dogs speaking up. As I'm starting to put pieces together on that, it's been a big game of just collecting parts. And, you know, since I'm in Colorado and there's not a lot of parts here, then it takes weeks for me to put these things together because I'll order a couple of parts, look at what I have, start piecing things together, and then usually have to order more parts, which usually is about a week for me. So when I try to size things like this up, it takes me weeks, and it really causes the projects to take a lot longer. But I don't want to not put any videos out for weeks on end, so I'm going to run you through right now and just show you the 4 things that I'm working on. So the first thing that I'm working on is the sway bar. I've got the tube tacked in place. I've got the arm here. I'm still working on the linkage. This is not the permanent linkage. None of this is permanent, but I'm working on measuring all that and figuring it out, and I do have a video that I'm working on for that, but I don't want to put the video out in pieces. I want to do the video from start to finish, and like I said, I keep running into issues where I have to order a couple of parts, and every time I do that, it basically sets me back a week. So that's the very first thing that I started working on as soon as it became a roller, because once that sway bar is done, then the rear suspension is actually totally complete. Boy, that little guy just can't leave you alone, can he? No, he cannot. You cannot get away. So then, obviously, once he became a roller, the focus goes a lot more towards the engine. And so far, I haven't done anything on the engine, really. And like I said in an earlier video, he is still sitting here on the temporary engine adapter. I do have the engine adapter ordered, but that's still a couple of weeks out. When that shows up, I will definitely do a video on that. Then I've also been measuring up some sort of exhaust that I'm going to do, and I'm not going to go into depth on this stuff because I am going to do an engine series where I'll go into those things in depth and a couple of different, I'm going to have a 2-phased plan that I do for the engine here. But I'm figuring out what I need for the exhaust. I'm also figuring out my fuel system, and that's going to have something like a fuel pressure regulator sitting somewhere around here, and I'm going to figure out a way to tap that into the 2 fuel rails here. And then along with that, I'm making an intake manifold for this. I don't know if you guys know exactly what a J35 intake manifold looks like, but it's this big hideous device that sits on top here, and I in no way, shape, or form want to run that intake manifold up here. So I'm in the process of cutting up aluminum pieces to make an intake that's going to be something like that. And then back at this end, it's going to have the throttle body with the air filter going up this way. Yeah, I'm going to do this engine build in 2 phases. Phase 1 is going to be get the engine as it is running. Once I have the engine running with the new fuel injection and all that, I can finish dialing in the chassis and actually tweak some things on the chassis itself, because remember, everything is is new here. It's all a concept and all that. So once I get some of this dialed in, then I'll come back and I'll do a phase 2 on the engine here, which I believe is going to be a turbo and obviously quite a bit more horsepower. But that will all be after the fact. So once I get... These guys are crazy. I'm just trying to do a video here, guys. Right? So, as you can tell, we're having some fun here. But the moral of the story, the moral of this video is, I've got a bunch of stuff going on, but because I keep, like you can see here, I'm getting a pile of AN fittings, I've got my regulator, I've got my hose. As I'm working on the fuel rail issue, I've got a pile of aluminum pieces that I've been working on for the intake manifold. Not to mention, I'm working on pieces and whatnot for the sway bar installation. These are cardboard templates for the intake manifold. The bench is a mess. Here's the throttle body over here. The bench is more of a mess than normal because there's 4 projects going on at the same time. The sway bar, which is the project that I'm working on the most right now, is probably still a week and a half out because I'm still waiting on some parts. So while I'm waiting on that, I'll just keep moving forward with some of this other stuff, but I can't do any of that to completion either because I'm still waiting on more AN fittings. So it's all a mess right now. And honestly, on projects like this, when you get towards the end, and I wouldn't say I'm at the end, but as you get closer to the end and you're not so much putting the larger pieces on anymore, this is actually where the project can get a little bit, let's say, overwhelming, because it gets frustrating when you're already working on something for 2 weeks, but you just can't finish it because you change your idea, you need different parts. You'll see what I'm talking about when you see the video for the sway bar, but the project just keeps going on and on and on. And you say to yourself, how can it take me 3.5 weeks to install just a sway bar? I'll never finish this project. Well, first and foremost, that's why I'm working on multiple different projects at the same time, because as some projects, as some parts of the project get deadlocked by me not having parts, even if it's a little tiny $2 fitting for the fuel rail, you just have to stop. There's nothing that you can do. There's no stores around me that sell components like this. So you just have to stop. You have to order the parts and then move on to something else. And that's what I've been doing, but that gets a little bit confusing. It's not real motivating because you don't make a lot of progress. You end up with a huge mess going on, and as you stop and start on another project, you lose a little bit of your train of thought. So when you go back to that project, you have to kind of regrind your brain again and figure out, what was I doing here? So it gets a little bit dicey. I do it a lot because I always want to be able to come out here and work on something. So if I'm waiting on parts, I'll start working on something else. Hopefully, you know, at some point they all start coming together and then you can move on to other projects. At this point, I'm rambling. I need to just stop talking about all this stuff. The moral of the story is, this is an update video just so that I could show you guys what I'm working on. Hopefully, I'll start bringing these actual videos to you of me making these things, but the holdup has been parts, me getting parts. So I guess that's it for this video, guys. A lot of rambling. I don't know if I really showed you anything legitimate, but I wanted you guys to know what I'm working on Wratchet. Hopefully it's helping you with some of your projects, whatever they might be. Hopefully you enjoyed some of the squeaker toys. There was a lot of it at the beginning of those videos, but you know, that's kind of fun. I grabbed some of it on camera, so we'll see. Either way, guys, thanks for watching the videos. I hope they help you with whatever you're working on, and I hope to see you on the next video. Take care. You guys having fun? It's hard to tell sometimes.